Is there, do we have, Chris, you wanted to, do we need to ask for public comment right now, or do we have members of the public in the audience or on the phone?
Dean, I don't believe Mary Liz or I had any requests from the public to join the meeting. I have a couple of proxies and then I can go through the attendance before we get underway.
Go ahead. And you got my proxy, right, Chris?
That's the first one I'm starting with. The most important, Dean Roberts will be the proxy today on the coordinating committee for Kristen Mulcairn, who has been reassigned at central office. So we'll be looking to fill her seat moving forward on the coordinating committee. But Dean Roberts has it covered today. And the second proxy I have is Matt Jones, is the proxy for acting county manager Brian Sweats at Luzerne County. Going through the attendance, and please speak up if I miss anyone. I'm going to start as usual with the coordinating committee. I have Rich Roman present, Dean for Kristen Mulcairn, Matt Jones for Brian Sweats, Tom Riley Jr. for Mayor Cognetti, Mark Berry for Mayor Brown, Tim McGrath from Colts, Bob Fume, LCTA, and I believe that's it. And as a non-voting member, I have Larry Malsky for the coordinating committee. Did I miss anyone on coordinating? We could always jump back if I did. Moving to the technical committee, again, Dean Roberts is present, Sue Hazelton, Barbara Idhas here, myself, Mary Liz Donato, again, Tom Riley Jr., Mark Berry from Wilkes-Barre, Kathy Bednarik is on the Teams meeting. Michael Danchek also on the Teams call. Alan Baranski sitting next to me. Matt Jones, Ralph Sharp I saw on Teams, and Larry Malsky is here in person. Did I miss anyone again from the coordinating or technical committee? Moving on to other members, I see Bernie McGurl from the TAC. And anyone else on the call from the TAC committee? So there's here in the room or online, Emma Pugh from District 4, Eric Middleton, Lackawanna County, Jessica Edwards, Lackawanna County, John Petrini from District 4, Jonathan Shaw, Luzerne County, Kate McMahon from NEPA Alliance, and possibly even in the room. Joe Corcoran is here. Good afternoon, Joe. Sorry, what's your name? Kyle, welcome to the meeting. Who else am I missing online?
Carl Beardsley from the airport.
Good afternoon, Carl.
Hi.
Marie Bishop, PennDOT.
Thanks, Marie. I see a couple of new names. Greg or Liz, can you identify yourself? I also see Jessica Ruddy from PennDOT District 4.
Liz Fabry, PennDOT District 4.
Okay. See, Brenda Sacco has joined, so that covers the spot for the coordinating and technical committee. We have a quorum for both committees. And is there anyone else I'm missing? If not, Dean, you're going to start us off.
Sure, that all should be good. Well, and you said, Chris, we don't have any items for public comment. We have nothing here, no discussions of items not listed on the agenda for anybody.
I believe that's correct.
That's correct. That'll move us down to item number 2, action items. Approval of the 2023-2026 TIP public comment meeting minutes and the January 18, 2023 combined technical and coordinating committee meeting minutes that happened on January 18th. It'd give you a quick minute to let you look over these things.
Can we approve these together or do we have to set?
These minutes will be approved together, but we'll be doing it first with the technical committee, then the coordinating committee. And just for housekeeping in the room, before Dean picks up with that vote, anyone who is speaking in the room, try to angle your voice to the center of the room to the owl camera there and microphone. Thank you.
With that said, do I hear a motion to approve the 2023-2026 Transportation Improvement Program public comment meeting minutes from January 25th?
Susan, I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Sue. Do I hear a second? Yep. Alan?
Al Bransky,
Alan's-
second, yep.
With that said, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. That moves us on to the January 18th, 2023 Combined Technical and Coordinating Committee meeting minutes.
I think that was a typo. It's January, I believe, 25th was the meeting.
Was
but
that
go
the
ahead.
25th? Okay.
But I think we could take one vote for the two sets of minutes. So if that's all right, if we could redo it with Sue and Alan, if they're okay with still voting for, and then we can move on to the coordinating committee.
We're good.
We're good. I would say, Chris, go ahead and move it on to the coordinating committee meeting.
Go ahead.
Okay, entertain a motion for the coordinating committee to approve the 2023-26 fifth public comment meeting minutes and the January 25th combined technical and coordinating committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rich. Second, Matt Jones. Second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Here's Dave.
Wonderful. That moves us down to item B, 2023 tip and actions. Mr. Fisher, I believe that's you, sir.
Thanks, Dean. For sake of timing and the fact that we were able to distribute these prior to the meeting, I'm not going to go over them individually. However, I'll be happy to take any questions during the meeting or afterwards if there are any as a result of the packet that was included in the meeting information. Chris, I don't know if you want to move on to the affirmation.
Yeah, Steve, let's just move down to the affirmation and I'll hand it back over to you, sir.
Thanks, Dean. We did have an amendment to include as part of this, well, since our last meeting. We are adding the PE phase for MPMS 116551. This is SR 3013 Main Street Snow Corridor. This is the addition of some congestion mitigation funding that we are receiving to the region. We're using this on the PE phase of a corridor improvement project.
This went out for an e-vote sometime in February. It was approved unanimously, and this is just a reaffirmation for the coordinating committee to approve today. The e-stip and everything was already done on our end, so it's already moving forward. So, and again, for those in the room, the tip packet is the 11 by 17. Everything else is in the stapled 8.5 by 11, including the tip reaffirmation. But Bob, if you want to send that to the coordinating committee for a vote, this would be for 2C.
Sure. Need a motion from the coordinating committee for the tip reaffirmation as described. We have a motion. Motion by Rich, second.
Mark Barry, second.
Mark, second. Questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. That should take us down to item D. And this will be for the technical committee, as the approval of the statewide performance measures, PM2 and PM3, which is bridge pavement conditions and reliability, and PM3, which is congestion mitigation and air quality. And Chris, we got your name there, my friend.
Sure. So if you remember, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, we approved our PM1, our safety targets. I'm happy to say that Pennsylvania just released an email as of yesterday that the number of fatalities has decreased in 2022 as opposed to 2021. So we're heading in the right direction for PM1. PM2 and PM3 were a little delayed, but they are ready to be approved today. So just a quick overview of what PM2 is. It is the percentage of interstate in good and poor condition, percentage of NHS also in good and poor condition, and bridge deck area on the NHS in good and poor condition. So I'm happy to say for both PM2 and PM3, we hit our targets, and the plan is for the MPO to go ahead and accept the PM2 targets from the state. Just briefly going over PM3, it's the vehicle miles traveled that are considered reliable. Quicker travel times, not getting stuck in congestion or any other reasons that you would be stuck in traffic. That is both on interstate and non-interstate national highway system. Truck travel reliability index and a few others there, but typically it's about CMAQ and air quality and improving air quality in the state and in our MPO region. Like I said, the plan was for our MPO, like most MPOs in the state, to accept the statewide measures moving forward. And if the committees agree to accept the measures, we will go ahead and revisit this again in 2 years.
Chris, do you want to consider that as a motion or?
Yeah, Dean, if you would kick that to the tech committee on a motion to accept the PM2 and PM3 statewide targets.
There we go. Do I hear a motion from the tech committee to approve the statewide performance measures PM1 and PM3 congestion mitigation, which are approved or support the statewide numbers on a semi-annual basis?
PM2, PM3 semi-annual. Absolutely. Thanks, Dean.
I'll make it.
Okay, Larry Malsky makes the motion from the tech. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Mary Liz seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would say that that motion carries, and then we will kick it to the coordinating committee.
Sure, need a motion to approve the statewide performance measures PM2 and PM3. Motion by Rich, second.
Mark Barry, I'll second.
Mark, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. That leads us down to item number E, approval of Ted Ritstick as the Department of Community and Economic Development as a non-voting member to the LLTS MPO coordinating and technical committees.
So move Matt John's coordinating committee.
Do I hear a second to that motion?
I'll second this coordinating committee.
Do we have, let's step back just 1 second. And just a little background. We've been working with Ted for some time now. Ted has been very instrumental in our adoption of our comprehensive plan in both Lackawanna and Luzerne County. And he's been very aggressive and had a great approach and very, very enthusiastic about getting more involved in transportation along with the other hats that he wears. So we spoke a little bit and we thought it might be a good idea to add him as a non-voting member to get him more involved. He could not make this meeting today, but he hopes to attend in the future. But if we do so, we would be adding him as a non-voting member to both the tech and the coordinating committee. So if there's no questions regarding it, Dean, if you want to take a vote from the tech first.
Okay, wonderful. I'll take a motion and a vote from the technical committee to approve Mr. Ted Ritstick as a member of the technical committee for the LLTS MPO.
I'll motion it.
Second.
Do I hear a second? A second? All in
Matt Jones
favor?
seconded.
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Over to the coordinating committee.
Motion to appoint Ted Risnick to the coordinating committee as a non-voting member. Do we have a motion? Motion by Rich. Second? I'll second. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Good, Dean.
Thanks,
Great,
Bob.
thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. That'll take us down to item 3, discussion items. And the first thing we got on the agenda is the spring project commencement series. Over to Mr. Middleton and Mr. Shaw.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm gonna start for Lackawanna County and then I'll kick it over to John for Luzerne. You wanna go down the first one, yes. So this is project 115659 in Taylor on Stafford Industrial Park Road. This was set to let on April 27th, this past Thursday. And this project is a highway restoration project. And then next we have a bridge replacement in Laplume Township on Township Road 437 or College Ave in the Keystone College campus by Chrissy Mathewson Field. And this is set to let on the 25th of this month. The project ID is 67085. And the next project is 116292. And this is a highway restoration project in Fell Township. This will be an intersection improvement project at the intersection of State Route 171 on Main Street and SR 1003 Jefferson Street. This project is set to let on June 8th. And next we have project 97020. This is a bridge preservation in Ransom Township. And this is on State Route 3002 Milwaukee Road over Gardner Creek. This project is set to let on June 15th. And the last one for Lackawanna County is a bridge replacement project in Newton Township. And this is also on State Route 3006 Milwaukee Road over Gardner Creek. And this project will let on the 15th of June as well. And the project ID is 8308. And I'll kick it over to John now.
Thanks, Eric. On the Luzerne County side, I'm going to start with project 115727. That is a bridge preservation project on I-81 in Rice Township over New Angola Outlet. That was let on March 30th, 2023. The next project I have is 57671. That's on SR 1012, also known as Chase Road over Drakes Creek in Jackson Township. That's going to be a bridge replacement. And that was let April 13th, 2023. The next project I have is also SR 1012 Chase Road over Drakes Creek. This project ID is 96721. That's going to be another bridge replacement. That was let also on April 13th, 2023. The next project I have is 8608. That's going to be a highway restoration project on County Road 16, Hillside Huntsville Roads in Jackson and Kingston Township. And that was let April 27th, 2023. Project 105050 is the Nanticoke Streetscaping project taking place on SR 2002. That's going to include sidewalks, curbing, planting, signal upgrades, and lighting, crosswalks, and ADA ramp improvements. That was let April 27th, 2023 in the city of Nanticoke. Project 101386 is SR 29 over Pikes Creek in Lehman Township. This is a bridge preservation project that was let April 27th, 2023. Project 117837 is various I-80 and I-81 concrete pave repairs in Luzerne County. This will take place from the Carbon County line to the Columbia County line on Interstate 80, and on I-81, it'll take place from Black Creek to mile 164 in Whitehaven. The municipalities that will run through are West Hazelton Borough, Nescapec, Black Creek, Denison, Dorrance, Foster, Sugarloaf, Butler, Rice, and Hanover Townships, and that will be let May 11th, 2023. The next project I have is 85008, and that is the Blackman Street southbound ramp on I-81 in Wilkes-Barre Township. This is a safety improvement at the intersection of State Route 309, State Route Business 309, SR 2005 in Wilkes-Barre Township. And that will be let May 11th, 2023. The next project I have is 116562, SR 29 over Pikes Creek Bridge Preservation Project in Plymouth Township. That will be let June 15th, 2023. Project 115736 is Business 309 over Solomon's Creek in Wilkes-Barre Township. This is a bridge preservation project. That will be let June 15th, 2023. And the last project I have is 119580. This is on 309 Business again in Ashley Borough. This is a bridge preservation project over Ashley Park. That will be let June 15th, 2023 as well. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I think everyone's going to be very excited that a portion of Huntsville Road is going to be fixed.
Yeah, it's much needed. That'll be great.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was a good job. Thank you. The next item we got on the agenda is B, Amtrak Scranton to New York corridor from Mr. Mowski. Mr. Mowski, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I want to thank, first of all, the support of the MPO and NEPA for our project. It really was a culmination of an awful lot of support from an awful lot of parties, bipartisan and bi-regional, bi-state, and actually 3 states are involved. So I'll give a little background of where we've been over the last year or so. A lot, obviously, it's come together last year. Last year, Amtrak, on its own volition, came out with something called Connections to 2021. And that was their analysis of potential corridors in the United States that they felt, based on their in-house programming and study, could be, should be, and would be the most potential successful new rail corridors to be launched. Amtrak has been around for 50 years, and they really haven't launched any new corridors over that time. They've had their hands full just maintaining what they have and trying to operate the system that was put in place back then, since federal funding and other funding was very tight. With the addition of the bipartisan infrastructure bill federally, the world changed in the rail passenger world. That legislation basically put forth serious funding for not only upkeep of the current Amtrak or the existing Amtrak system, but also for expansions, which again is something that's been talked about for many, many years, and now finally came to fruition. We at the rail authorities have been at this for a few years, going on about 40. And I'll just surmise what people have been asking me over that time is, why is it taking so long? And even now, I guess my most asked question is, well, you've been telling us this for years, what's different now? So instead of a long tirade of answers, I just say $66 billion. That's what's been provided in the BIF by bipartisan infrastructure bill for new corridors across the country. So with that, that Amtrak analysis in 21 and 22, we, the authority, wanted to kind of jump ahead and show our proactivity in going after some of this line. So we initiated and engaged Amtrak and their internal planning to basically, we contracted with them, for which we paid, the authority paid them to do an analysis of the Scranton, New York City corridor. They did so. It was close to 2 years in the making. It's quite detailed. It entails about 400 pages, actually over 400 pages of analysis. A lot of it being engineering, preliminary engineering and otherwise. So it's a pretty intense analysis of our port. The reason we engaged him is that we, again, want to show that we were very serious here locally in the Northeast. And we wanted to do our homework in effect so that we could be amongst some of the first parties. The study was released about a month ago. It was analyzed kind of nationally by quite a few people. And we believe it kind of gives us, we hope, a leg up on the application that we were able to file with the FRA, the Federal Railroad Administration. What's very interesting and was very important actually about the application that we filed is that it truly is a joint venture. The lead applicant is PennDOT. And PennDOT has expressed their priority for our port. Again, a lot of this, I don't get into details, but as you know, over the years, we've been trying to put and get all the parties together at the table. The fact that we've got PennDOT, the fact that we've got Amtrak, the fact that we've got New Jersey Transit, and the Pennsylvania Northeast Regional Railroad Authority together, basically shows total support for this corridor, which is about 136 miles. It says from Scranton to Penn Station in Manhattan. And it involves all the parties that own the corridor. That may not sound like a major item, but simple fact is many of the other corridors which have basically submitted applications to the federal government, many of which, actually the vast majority of them, entail usually local entities or Amtrak entities or people of that nature, or state entities, I should say. But most of those corridors are on private Class 1 railroads like Union Pacific or Northern or Southern CSX. That usually entails a pretty complicated negotiation. And unfortunately, in many cases, very expensive negotiation. We do not have to deal with that. So we're amongst one or two or three applications out of the over 100 that have been filed with the FRA that have a corridor, a fleet corridor, basically owned by public entities. And in most part, public passenger entities that are involved in real passenger transportation. So we believe, we hope that that's going to be a helpful fact in the analysis of our application. Again, the Amtrak proposal and our proposal is initially to have 3 trains each way a day on the corridor. The running time is 2 hours and 50 minutes from Scranton to Penn Station. And the train will stop at 8 stations along the way. Pocono, East Stroudsburg, Northeastern Pennsylvania, Blairstown, Dover, Morristown, Newark, and that station in New Jersey and New York. The Newark stop, we feel, is fairly important in terms of ridership because it's a 15-minute cab ride from train station to International Airport. So again, allowing some options for riders. Amtrak has given an initial analysis of ridership on this corridor to be one of the best of all the corridors before. They have projected after the first 3 years of operation 473,000 riders per year on this corridor. That's a very high number, but it's based on their internal programming and modeling that they've developed over the last 50 years. So it's a very well established standard and one that's accepted by most passenger rail entities. So that's what we have. To wrap it up, just to give the final where we stand after all the work we've been through and getting the application filed on March 27th. We are awaiting the selection process by the FRA, the Federal Railroad Administration. And they basically informed all parties that decisions will be made mid-late. So it's kind of a hurry up and wait. That's what we are. We've got a target of when we're going to hear. We're confident that we put forth a very comprehensive a serious application. But we will see. This is really the most funding that we've had in the many years that we've been after this project. And we feel confident, but again, time will tell. There's some very stiff competition by quarters across the country. So with that, I can answer any questions. This one.
Larry, thank you for your excellent presentation. This is very exciting. I have a few questions. What was applied for in March of 2023? Was it, I think I read in the paper, maybe a state was willing to match, if I'm not mistaken. If a federal award is made, the state was ready to match that. Is that, does that ring a bell, or am I
Sure.
way out of?
No, you're
Way off.
You're right on the mark. Quite honestly, Frank, we're all friends here. You know, state participation, state of Pennsylvania participation in this project has been one of the serious concerns we've had for many years. With Governor Shapiro's administration and our Secretary of Transportation's interest in this project and knowledge of this project, we've really come a long way because of that state support. And quite honestly, and you don't have to get into politics, but it is what it is. Congressman Cartwright, Senator Casey, Senator Fetterman, and many others, and really on a bipartisan basis, support of this has put us in the position that we needed, which is state support. So PennDOT's decision to be the lead effort is an extremely significant development in this project. You know, on or off the record, we've been told that by people in Washington that you need state support. These are state supported corridors. So that's just what it is. It's legally defined term of the federal legislation. But if you don't have the state support, it's kind of tough to get funding for a state support corridor. We have that now. And that's why part of the county is to have, you know, ultimately select.
Larry, I haven't followed this as closely as I used to. Last I knew, there were maybe 12 miles of track that needed to perhaps be rebuilt in New Jersey, and that the Paulinskill Aqueduct Bridge, they were exploring whether it was structurally sound engineering wise. Can you update us on the status of those items?
I sure can. The other major roadblock, if you will, rail block to the project was the simple fact that we in Pennsylvania were able to save all of the right of way from Scranton to the Delaware Watergate. It was all being, it was abandoned, legally abandoned under the ICC STV. And a lot of it was actually being liquidated by time. We were able to proactively save it all. So we did our job in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, New Jersey did not save 28 miles of rail line from the Delaware River to Port Morris, New Jersey. That was abandoned by Conrail and liquidated by Conrail, and actually sold a lot by Conrail. So it was actually gone. Usually when a rail project is that far gone, it's well, more than 1 foot of grave to ever get it back. But because of the state of New Jersey and the state of Pennsylvania's condemnation, we actually took it back. So we own it all, but the rail is gone for that. It was 28 miles. The first 7 miles of that are under construction by an FTA, Federal Transit Administration grant of $62 million. So it's actually in construction. That leaves 21 miles to go. Obviously, funding under the BIF will address that and put that at 21 miles. The bridges are 2 main structures. Actually, there are 3 main structures involved. A Roseville Tunnel, Paulinskill Viaduct, the Delaware River Viaduct. Basically, all of those were all of those were analyzed in our engineering analysis and our application analysis. Got numbers for all. So engineering's been done on that, and that would be part of the plan.
So the repair to those structures is part of the ask.
It is, and it's included in
Federal money could be matched by state money and put into moving this forward.
And that's a very good point. I should have alluded to that in my comments. This funding is remarkable in another way. It's 80-20. So it's 80% Fed, 20% local. As most of us in this room know, that's a pretty good ratio. Not a whole lot of that kind of money around. So it is, it's very beneficial in terms of funding. We've met with our counterparts in New Jersey. They realize that that's a very good funding ratio too, that almost one of them see again, especially rail transportation. So that has brought a lot of interest back to the table.
The last I knew, the corridor being eyed would have terminated in Hoboken, New Jersey. Is the scheme different now where you would have a direct line that leads you right into New York City proper and Newark on the way? Am I hearing that right?
You are. This is an Amtrak corridor. The previous project is on the table. Again, it's a lot of funding for, but we're never able to really successfully respond. Was an FTA project, transit coordination project that was more of a commuter oriented service. This is an Amtrak corridor service. The key to this service is not only commuters. Commuters are certainly going to ride, but it's really keyed into the more general Amtrak ridership model, which quite honestly is a much bigger population. So it's nationally that entails a very large population of riders and includes commuters. So this is an Amtrak corridor. It is an Amtrak. It'll actually go over Pennsylvania, our ownership from Scranton to the Water Gap, New Jersey Transit's ownership of Water Gap to near Newark, and then over Amtrak into Amtrak actually owns the last 7 miles of this corridor. So there's actually 3 entities. So it's an Amtrak ridership in Penn Station. You go to Montreal, Boston, Orlando, or the rest of the country, you get Amtrak. And unfortunately, our region, so much of the education we're trying to do is educate people what Amtrak service is and what it can provide. And it is a national transportation system. And you can literally, connect a place like Penn Station to anywhere in the country. So it really entails a different kind of sequence in terms of not just commuters going from, Scranton, Poconos to jobs in Northern New Jersey or Manhattan. You'll have that too, but you'll also have to go to
Last 2 questions, then I'll shut up. This is just really exciting. And some of this is new information. So would the service envisioned and proposed 3 trains each way every day? Would that be 7 days a week? And follow up, and I'll stop. When I saw the proposed corridor, the latest version of it, it was sort of like a loop in New Jersey somewhere. Like it's a straight line from Scranton, it goes east, it goes through New Jersey, and then at some point it's sort of like has like a ring in the middle, and then it terminates in New York City. Can you explain what that all involves and what that means?
I wish it was a straight line from Scranton through the Poconos. The Poconos, the railroad was built in 1853, so it's not exactly a straight line, but it's a good line, but it's not straight because you have 4 miles between us. But to address your question, in New Jersey, it's Morrison Erie, Morristown and Erie. It's the way the railroad was built, which the one leg goes through Morristown, the other leg goes through Montclair, and a bunch of other things. So it was just basically built that way back in the 1860s, 70s to reach the populations there. Amtrak is proposing running 3 trains initially a day, 2 trains on the Morristown side, 1 train on the Montclair side, just to access more suburban population or suburban stations. So that actually showed more ridership in their ridership. So that's how. I might add that there's another innovative point to this corridor that Amtrak is proposing and we're fully supporting, and that is a section of high-speed rail. We're proposing to put the rest of the cutoff back because it's straight as narrow. The Laguna cutoff was built in 1910 and a state-of-the-art, straight as narrow rail line to link in times between New York and Railroad. and it was built to standards that weren't around in the 50s and 60s. So it was laid as almost a straight track. There's 4 curves on 48 miles. It's just like Northeast Florida. So Amtrak is proposing to put that track back at 110, will be 110 mile an hour line, which is considered the lowest form of high speed. High speed goes from 110 to 160. Amtrak has it from 60 mile an hour running on the Northeast Florida. So that's a little bit of innovativeness that we didn't foresee, but we're extremely happy to have. And that's what helps us keep the running time down to 2 hours.
Thank you.
I just have a question, Larry.
Go ahead, Al.
It's been a long time coming. Some of us have half a career in this, others even more than that. And we're really close. And it didn't happen on its own. A lot of effort, a lot of collaboration between both MPOs and going back to all inspector, and all the work that was done since then. I just have one question on the on as far as on the Jersey side. Has there been any funding asked that's been sourced for the Jersey side as far as track upgrades that may be necessary? On geographically New Jersey, or as funding asked that NRRA with PennDOT is on our side of the corridor. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, we have years of transit. We've had communications with them. You have to remember that, and again, you well know here that's been a tough one too. The interesting point that maybe they haven't emphasized, but it's evident. The 7 miles of building, that's 80-20. They're pushing 20%.
Yeah.
They've got that prioritized and using it for this project. But what they've agreed to, doesn't this 80, which is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Rest of the is always lacking federal. So with that, I think they've all come. And Steve can go on in the discussions. They agreed, and just like we have done. As a heavy lift itself, but it makes it.
Yeah, that's collaboration, coordination between both governor's office. Absolutely essential, as well as the federal delegation as well.
Something else.
Awesome.
Hey, Larry, you're not looking at anything from this from the coordinating committee, are you, at this time?
Not yet, but stay tuned.
Okay. And just one question. I read there you said, and I'm taking it means if everything lines up, you could have open service by 2028. But then down there, you're saying your next step. I guess my question is, when would you want, in a perfect world, to start your preliminary engineering?
Well, very good question. That will be determined and directed when and if we are selected as one of the initial corridors by the FRA. The FRA has laid out a format of those selected of what the procedures will be from them. They will dictate that because they will be providing the funding. I might say the way the federal legislation is written, those selected are basically, I don't use that word, but are basically guaranteed funding. So the key is being selected. And they will prescribe and direct how, when, where, what that will be done. So those selected will be under direction, their direction as to how and when the funding will take place in construction, engineering, etc. So forth.
Stay tuned, Dean.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the update. Thanks a lot. And if there's no other questions for Mr. Mowski, I guess that brings us down to item C, the Spring Planning Partners meeting, and I see my name is there. I'll say that on, I'll just take us back to April 19th when we had our spring, or had our bi-monthly planning partners call, in which we have released our financial and general procedural guidance for our planning partners to begin their tip updates for the 2025 program. We were tasked with trying to put this guidance out sooner. Last time, I believe it came out in June. Here we are in April, so we cut 2 months off our time frame. Reason being, we've heard from many of our districts and planning partners by the time we released their guidance, we're already behind schedule. So we did release it. You'll look for a final email coming from our program center here, probably within the next day or two. Still working to tidy some things up, but when it comes to plugging numbers and what we need for a tip update and the process and whatnot, that stuff is all out there. If I do not hear any other questions on that, I'll take it down to item D, which would be the federal cert review from Mr. Projniak. And Gene, I don't know if you're on the line or not.
I don't see him, dude.
I'll just say that the LLTS MPO is considered a TMA, a Transportation Management Association, with a population over 250,000. With that, our certification reviews are required every 4 years. Last one we had, I can't believe it was 2020. Gene was talking, so next year it'll be 4 years. So FTA is the lead on this, our cert reviews for the LLTS MPO. With that, he'll probably be looking to schedule something early 2024 to, I think he may be looking later in the summer 2024 from my conversations with him. And we'll just go from there. LLTS is one of our better partners, so things seem to go pretty smoothly. So takes us down to item E, funding grant opportunities, and I will give that to you, Mr. Chapman.
Thanks, Dean. Just to touch back on the spring planning partners, the biggest thing that came out of this for us as a staff is to get the tip cycle and the UPWP cycles off the same timeline. We're going to do a 1-year UPWP this year, and that seems to be preferred throughout the state. And then that way, the approval of the UPWP cycle and all the work that goes into that will not conflict so much with the tip cycle. So that was the biggest thing that came out of it for us staff. So we'll be looking forward to adopting a 1-year UPWP in the near future in the next few meetings. As for the federal cert review, thank you for the good words, Dean. And we've been fortunate to have good scoring in the past, but typically we'll be looking at commendations, things we're doing really well, suggestions that are not required, and then recommendations that they want to see us improve on moving forward. So it's basically the MPO's way of being scored as to how they're doing. Moving on to the grant opportunities, this is something that's kind of been a standing item since the infrastructure law was passed. But starting with the CFI, charging and fueling infrastructure, this is for publicly accessible electric vehicle charging and alternative fuel infrastructure. The match for this is 20%. That is open until May 30th. So that one's starting to come to an end. I know we're having this meeting slightly later than usual. Safe Streets and Roads for All, that is currently open and will be open until July 10th at 5 p.m. The goal of this program is to reduce fatalities and serious injuries, which aligns with our PM1 targets. Lackawanna County is going to speak on their part of this a little later. Luzerne County, knowing that the first step of the Safe Streets for All program is you need to have an action plan in place. Without an action plan in place, you can't put in for implementation projects of any sort. So, we're having initial discussions as we speak to get an action plan together for Luzerne County. And, it'll be possibly a Vision Zero plan because that's probably the most, inclusive of all the action plans out there. If we were lucky enough to get that approved, then we'd be able to look at, implementation projects and demonstration projects based on that plan. So that's gonna be our step one, and like I alluded, Lackawanna will be talking about their step one from, last year's round. Finally, and this is not all the grants available currently, but these are the three we wanted to highlight today. The Transportation Alternative Set Aside Program is gonna be opening on May 30th. There'll be a webinar later this month on the 24th at 10 a.m. Information will be going out, and I will do my best to get that distributed to all three MPO committees. But they're expecting draft applications by July 17th and final applications by September 15th. If anyone remembers in the past, we as a large MPO, due to our population size, is allotted our own pot of funding. So we will rank those projects with our advisory committee and distribute that funding. And then all the projects then after that would go into the statewide pot. And luckily enough, in this area, we've been very fortunate. I've seen many streetscape projects, many trail projects, many wayfinding and signage. Universities have been fortunate, transit agencies, among others. So we look forward to that application round. It's a very exciting one, getting cars off the roadway, people out of their vehicles, and keeping them safe. So that's all I had for the current funding and grant opportunities. If there's any questions now, that's fine. If not, I could always speak to anyone after the fact.
Do you want to talk about Lackawanna's experience with the
Safe Streets?
the safe
Yeah,
streets?
I could do it right now if you want. I mean, it's just, we were awarded $200,000. It's a 20% match, so we have 50,000. We could do up to 20,000 in kind service toward that match. And like Chris said, Division Zero, that's our goal. Right now, we're in the process of working on the governmental agreement with FHWA. Should have that done the next month or two, hopefully, and once that's approved by them, we'll be looking for a consultant and have everybody here involved as well.
Congratulations, you guys got a jump on it.
Thank you. Yeah, we kind of just hurry up, threw something at the wall, and it actually stuck, so we got lucky.
No, it was a good time. They're still putting a lot of money towards the planning grants. I feel very confident in ours as well. So I hope we have the same luck as Lackawanna. But yes, they do have a jump, and that's a great thing. And if we could both get some Vision Zero plans together, again, that'll lead to the implementation and demonstration projects. Dean, when we get to it, now that Mary Liz spoke, you can skip G. But if there's no other questions, we're ready for 2F. I'm sorry, 3F.
3F, which would bring us down to the raise grant, and I will be handing it off to Mrs. Hazelton. It's all yours, ma'am.
Another grant opportunity. An application we put in for what we're referring to as citizen air. So projects that have been on our tip for some time that were in design, which is supporting our state-owned bridge, which is the Blanket Bridge. Hudson and partner is the Water Street Bridge. And also the city of Hudson, West Hudson. We put a raise grant application in last year. We were unsuccessful in getting that grant. Got a debriefing and that went in February. Here last year, September. And a special thank you to the number of people that are involved, which is Luzerne County staff were assistant, us, the number of other officers, planning partners were helpful and put this together some data to get that application put together. So fingers crossed. I get that.
Yes, I hope so. It'll be a great thing for the state, for Luzerne County, Pittston, West Pittston, and the whole region. So hoping for some good news there. Thanks, Sue.
And Chris, do we talk about Lackawanna County here still, of Mary Liz?
Yep.
Sure, they could talk about their raise grant. Go ahead, Rick.
We put a raise grant in also in February, $4.2 million request for 7 county-owned off-system bridges. For the engineering and the environmental reviews, the county is actually matching just over $1 million. Towards that, I don't know if Brenda's is still on, she could speak a little bit more about it, but, this is a long, sought grant money for these bridges that are, especially the, ones in Clifton Township where they're actually closed and there's like, 5-mile detours, and so fingers crossed.
Thanks, Mary Liz. Chris, that'll take us down to you. 2020 census urbanized boundary smoothing.
Sure, I'm going to be brief on this. There are a couple maps in the packet and on the link online. We had the 2020 census. It got extended a little bit. I believe it was possibly getting underrepresented. So they left it out there a little bit longer. We finally have that data back, and the maps, as you can see on the screen for those in the Teams call here in the room, that is the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, known as the Scranton urbanized area. We now have a job of smoothing that boundary. So that's just based on population alone. The green area, the light green, is the 2010 already smooth boundary. So you can see it kind of shrunk a little bit. Our population has decreased, but that was statewide. There were some areas that had disappeared, urbanized areas, 6 to be total. So I think as overall, the state did have a population decrease. So we'll have the task of smoothing that boundary out, what makes sense onto some of the arterial roadways that are nearby, and get that submitted to central office to be reviewed. We have until June 30th of this year. So ourselves, Lackawanna County staff, and the PennDOT staff are going to get together and look these maps over to see what makes sense.
Thanks, Chris. And I would say there's a couple areas, I believe, one to your immediate west, the Cedacog, Bloomsburg area is jumped up to an MPO last census, and now it dipped down. It has the right to keep its MPO designation, but the population as such does not warrant that. And I think East Stroudsburg was another, if I'm not mistaken, but seems to be it seems to be a common theme in PA about our population decline. Will take us down to item number 4, progress reports, and it'll be Mr. Fisher again talking about the PennDOT Connects and municipal outreach. Mr. Fisher, sir.
Thanks, Dean. On March 28th, we had a PennDOT Connects municipal outreach session in Dunmore. It was very well attended, approximately, I'd say 40 people in person and about approximately 20 to 25 virtually. It was hybrid in nature. Some of the items that we discussed during that meeting with the Infrastructure Investment Job Act and these funding opportunities that came along with IIJA, our consultant from central office offered their technical assistance to the various municipalities for applying for grant programs. I also discussed the PennDOT's 12-year program and solicited input from stakeholders that were involved in the meeting. Talked about the NEVI program and how some of the local stakeholders may see various information on that, from applicants to, soliciting permits for applying for this program. Also, we had just spoke about Ted Britzik Jr. Being a part of the committee here. He spoke about programs having to do with DCED. And lastly, we had Christine Vittori speak on some funding opportunities through DCNR. So it was very well attended, and thank you everybody for attending the meeting.
Thanks, Steve. Any questions for Mr. Fisher? Hearing none, we'll go down to item B, joint county plans for 2023. Chris?
So as previously mentioned to the committees, we have 5 plans that are that have become out of date, or not even out of date. A couple of them are just due to be to be finished and re-updated. But those plans are the public participation plan, limited English proficiency plan, Title VI plan, congestion management process, and the coordinated public transit human services transportation plan. Luzerne County took the lead with an agreement with Lackawanna County. We are splitting the costs of these efforts for the 2-county region for the MPO. And we had one respondent for the RFP, and they interviewed very well, and we notified them on Thursday last week that Michael Baker will be the one taking on this plans. They are in the process of getting their signatures on the contract. It will then float around to about, 5 to 7, 8 signatures throughout Luzerne County, and then finally signed off by the county manager, and then we'll begin working. They have a pretty aggressive schedule, and it sounds like, for the most part, in about 1 year, we can have these 5, which will condense down to 4. Limited English is basically a part of Title VI, so that'll become one with that. But get these 4 plans together, and you'll be briefed in the future as to how it's going. And I'm sure some of you will be invited to the steering committee.
Our ambition is sort of to try to have a draft by April of 2024 that could be fine-tuned with the idea of it being approved by the MPO committees and at their summer MPO next year.
Any questions or comments on the joint plans?
The piece that we're most excited about is the congestion management process and getting Michael Baker on board. They seem to bring a lot of expertise in that area and are willing to kind of work with us to make it our own for the region, identify some corridors that may need attention, the process that would be ideal to go through to try to address those corridors. So that'll be kind of a neat project. So we hope you all will join with us when we have public outreach meetings.
Excellent. Yes, Mr. Sakaris, Dan Sakaris, Dean, you know well, he's excited to get that congestion management process started for us.
He's good. He's a good man. All right. I believe, Chris, that takes us down to item C, multimodal transportation fund, and I got you down for that also.
Just a quick briefing. As a staff, we were set to look over let's say about 15 projects between the 2 counties. We went ahead and reviewed them as a staff, and now those multimodal transportation fund projects are in the state's hands. And I would expect to hear an announcement probably sometime in the fall. I mean, late summer if it's aggressive, but probably more like the fall. We should be hearing which projects were awarded from both Lackawanna and Luzerne County.
Any questions for Chris? Hearing none, I'll move down to item D, LCTA microtransit update to Kathy. Kathy, it's all you.
Thanks, Dean. So an update on microtransit. First off, microtransit is the demand response type service that LCTA has been looking at. It would use smaller shuttle type vehicles, and it would supplement bus service, especially around the industrial areas. Would have an app-based ride booking like you see with the TNC, like Uber or Lyft, but the fares would be more reasonable. And LCTA would provide call-in reservation option for those not comfortable with online booking. So where we're at now is we're currently involved in the PennDOT sponsored Transit Development Plan, or the TDP. So we are expecting, as a result of the TDP, to have a greater idea of how microtransit would be incorporated into the entire LCTA system as a whole, beyond just the industrial park areas. So, looking at funding, we would love to have an influx of some carbon reduction program funding for this, to get off a pilot for the first year, and then, look at incorporating more microtransit into the system over the second year. County planning, Chris, been great with partnering on this, as well as GIS mapping has been helping us. So that's where we're at with it. And
Thanks.
I will also drop in the chat, if anyone's interested in participating in that transit development plan, I'll put the link in there so people can participate.
Dean and Chris, if I may, for a moment. I was going to mention that too. So we've had our kickoff for the transit development plan, as Kathy had stated, partnering with PennDOT. Kimberly Horn is our planner consultant that's working with us. You were on a stakeholder meeting yesterday, and we started stakeholder meetings and the analysis of our current system. But if anyone wants to give us any input, this plan we will be working on this transit development plan throughout the summer into the fall, and hopefully first quarter of 2024, we'll be ready to implement new service along with the financial plan. So, but when it's over with, we will have updated our service, get into the areas we need, and obviously at that time, microtransit will be inserted into our system in the industrial areas and in other parts of our service area that really don't warrant full route, bus route through because of. So it's planned for the future, the next several years. It's been a while since major changes have happened in Luzerne County Transit, so this is going to get us hopefully where we need to be, get that service out there, and a nice financial plan for it to go to. You know, like there'll be a lot of good ideas from people. You know, resources will dictate what ideas we can use, but the plan will be ready for now, and then for the future when more resources come. Just wanted to.
Thanks, Bob. Any questions for Kathy or Bob? Hearing none, I'll move down to item E, Eastern PA Freight Alliance Freight Study with Chris, Mary Liz.
Sure, I could give a quick briefing. Going back to the microtransit update, I know it's been discussed here before, so I'll just keep everyone in the loop. You know, LCTA did request us to consider carbon reduction funding towards this program, and we're planning on meeting with the district sometime later this month to go ahead and discuss that even further and rank that along with the other projects that have been sitting in the pipeline to see what makes sense for the MPO region. So just to give everyone an update there. Moving on to the Freight Alliance, I don't have any major updates. We do have a call scheduled with the consultant next week, next Friday, I believe. But as of right now, it's still a lot of data collection, a lot of mapping, and the next step is going to be some stakeholder engagement. So we're going to be reaching out to the freight stakeholders in the 10-county region and get their data into the plans. So we should have more. Looking further into the future, WSP, who is the consultant on this, will be reaching out. We haven't solidified on how they will be reaching out, but they will be reaching out to each county, whether it be each MPO or as a whole. In both, we're looking for both hybrid, online and in-person meetings. So we're looking for hybrid meetings for that to get the best possible attendance. But we'll have more updates moving forward and moving towards the July meeting.
Guess that will take us down to item 5, other business. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Hey, Dean, this is Gene from Federal Highway. Right now I'm dropping a couple links in the chat for some recent NOFOs that have come out from FHWA, including the new Safe Streets funding opportunity, a charging infrastructure discretionary grant, and a wildlife crossings program.
Thanks, Gene. Hearing nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Gene, I'm just going to quickly, before you move forward, then I apologize. The next 2 meetings are set currently for July 12th,
I'm sorry.
2023. That's okay, Dean. Thank you. And October 4th this year.
Yeah, the only thing, yeah, Chris, they were looking early for the fall planning partners meeting, but I think there's a conflict, so we should be good on October 4th. If everybody is fine with me being virtual, I'll continue to do that. If you want me to show up I could do that. I could understand why you wouldn't know. But, There-
Dean, if Planning Partners moves and ends up being, on October 4th and encompasses those dates, around it, we'll move our meeting. We've noticed that our meetings have kind of lined up with some of the state meetings, including the, bi-monthly Planning Partners call. So we're gonna have some discussions probably around the October meeting to look at maybe a different day of the week, different time of the month. But, that's to be determined. But the third Wednesdays of each month are not gonna work at least half the time, and then it seems like the other dates don't work the other half, so we'll figure it out.
Thanks, Chris. I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll move from the technical committee. Second from
Kick
Sue.
it.
We need
It's
a
all you,
motion
Bob.
from the- Yep, motion from the coordinating committee to adjourn. Rich, second. I'll second. All in favor? Sure. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.